Hello, hello. JD Grosspitz here, lead singer and streaming talent of Malignant Bear, and today we're coming at you with a quick look of the game V Rising. This is an early access, open world survival crafting game where you get to play as a vampire. And I know what you're thinking, JD, usually hate open world early access survival games. And of course, the caveat with this one is that you're a vampire, and that changes everything and makes it awesome. So this is a newer game. It just came out into early access just the other day at the time of recording this. There's only been 2 hotfixes since, so this is a very early build of the game. And we're very early in the game as well, so if you're worried about spoilers or anything like that, we're only about an hour or two in terms of playtime, so nothing too crazy here. This game is by the devs that did Battlerite and Bloodrite Champions, was it? I think that's what it was called. But anyway, Battlerite unfortunately died because it was a MOBA in a very crowded genre, which is a shame because it was a good game. It did some interesting things, and this does some interesting things too, which is why I wanted to put out a video on it. So, here we are, in our little vampire home. So you can see here, everything's a little edgy and gothic. It's totally not a phase, not at all. And this game is interesting. It does a lot of things that are kind of standard with early access survival games. You know, you have your journal up here telling you what to do, and as you do different things in the world, you're going to unlock more things to build that you can interact with in the world and keep expanding and growing and all that. In addition to that, though, some of the other things that you can do to get more stuff in the game is you have your blood altar here. And I'm focusing on this stuff early because these are kind of the unique mechanics. Uh-oh, getting attacked. I forgot to close the door in my base. Well, that leads us to something else, which is the combat. This game controls essentially like a twin stick. You get to move around with W, A, S, and D, and then turn around with the mouse. Then you have your attacks and your weapons and things. Harvesting a little bit there, which is good. But anyway, as I was saying, we have the blood altar here, and there's different boss enemies in the game that are going to be a little bit different than those wolves that we just fought, except for this one. This is totally just a wolf. But when you kill these enemies, you get to absorb their blood, and when you do that, you get different powers, different structures, different recipes. So this is the main kind of unique feature of this game, is that to progress, instead of just building things, you have to go out into the world, find these bosses, and fight them. And they are full-fledged, in-depth boss battles. All of these bosses that I fought, it only says 2 here. I have another save where I have fought significantly more, but I redid it just to purposely show off the early game. All of the bosses I've fought are very different. Even ones like, there's 2 archers on the list here. These were 2 very different fights. They have full mechanics and everything, different areas that they fight in. Some of them will roam around the map and you can find them different places, which is really cool. Some of them will summon ads and things that you have to fight. And even among the basic enemies, some of them have full move sets and crowd control and everything that you have to work with and deal with. So one of the main things of this game is that PvE content, but there's still PvP as well. So of course you want to, build up a base and have walls and things so players can't raid you and destroy your stuff. We're just playing on a solo server for the purposes of this. But there's all sorts of different things that you can build to make your base, again, because it's an early access survival crafting game. So you can lay out your territory, build your walls, get stairs. Of course, you can sleep in a coffin if you want to. The mist brazier here, that's making some fog so that we don't die in the sunlight, which it is right now. Although the moon is rising, that's good. I timed this perfectly. You have your different production buildings, and we have a couple here. We have access to more as you go. And again, as you kill more bosses and unlock more things, you can get more. But, you have some kind of basic things. For example, to get wood, you have to cut down trees, and then you turn trees into logs at the sawmill, and it's doing this automatically. You don't have to do anything with that. So you have a bunch of different things you can go for here. And again, this is early on, so this is just the bare minimum stuff that you pretty much start with. But of course, you need to gather resources in the world. So you can see I have a little hotbar there in the bottom left. So I have my basic weapon is just a sword. Then I have dual axes, and axes are better at gathering lumber. You literally just attack away until you get them. Also have a big hammer. It's for gathering stone, which we can see over here. Makes sense. And then the spear is better for killing animals. And each of these weapons have different attack patterns and speeds and stats and everything, and you can see them down here. And you can upgrade them as you go. There's different types of them. And you can see here in our inventory, there's not a whole lot of room, so you have to think about what you want to do. You have gear. Some of your gear has sets and different bonuses like that. You can repair your gear on the fly. You have full stat trees and everything. So there's a lot more going on here, kind of RPG style, than you would see in a traditional early access survival game. You have some basic crafting here, but most of it's going to be done in your base. So, of course, since we're a vampire, we have to think about blood, and every enemy in the game has a different blood type, and their blood types have different levels of quality, and depending on the quality that you have, it's going to be either better or worse for you, different types of advantages and things. And you can change out qualities, so for example, right now I'm blood type brute, but if I kill an animal, I'll be blood type creature, if I absorb its blood, that is, and then get different bonuses based on that. So you can always think about what you want to be doing, can feed on things, have your little wheel here for your different skills. So one of the skills that I have is turning into a wolf from killing a boss wolf, which is good. It makes you go a little bit faster, which you need. Because this game world is pretty massive. This is a set map, so every player that's playing this game, no matter what server they're on, they're going to see the same thing. You spawn in one of these two areas, and then you get to explore the woods. And there's different things on the map, so you can see, you know, oh, there's bandits here, it tells me what's going to be there. There's wolves there, there was, you know, different types of loot that you might find in a certain location. There's a graveyard. So there's all sorts of little things in the world to find and explore and check out. And places that you can build your little base. Of course, if you play on a server, lots of people can build their base somewhere. You can play this as PvE, so there's PvE servers and PvP servers. And I think it's interesting just because of all the boss battles and things in this. This makes this an attractive game to do PvE in, which I think is something kind of unique for the early access survival games. Obviously, there's going to be PvP, so if you want to be, you know, sweaty PvP tryhard, you can still do that. Nothing against that. I know people do like that, but that's one of the things that I'm not crazy about with the genre. But there's some wolves. They seem fine with me. I think they know that I'm one of them right now. But we're going to travel around a little bit, try to find a boss. See what we can do here. So you might notice there's this kind of red aura coming out of me that's leading me to the boss. I'm tracking one of them. So we're going to go up there to where she is. I'm going to travel through the forest. The game looks good. Goes for the style that they're going for. It does have some performance issues, obviously early access. The biggest one being that it's really bad about caching animations and shaders and things. The first time you see anything, the game is going to slow down to a crawl for a split second, which is kind of annoying. So, worth pointing that out. But again, early access, that can and hopefully will change. So, like I teleported, I don't know what that was about. It's a moose. Kill that. So some animals will obviously run from you. They're not interested in that. Use one of our abilities on it there. And throw out little bolts. Oh my god, he's way faster than me. Okay. Never mind. We'll keep going up here. I know where this boss is, so we're just making a beeline towards her. She's up there. Control the camera as well, if you want to do that. Zoom in or out. There's a decent amount of customization options. Male or female vampire. I know some people are really mad because this game has cosmetic DLC already for an early access title, but it's strictly cosmetic, so, you know, whatever. I don't see that being an issue. Okay, these guys have weaker blood than what I have, so we're going to just kill them. We won't feed on them, we don't need to do that. See, there's little remnants in the world of stuff. There's some lore and things in the game, not a whole lot. But, you know, I wouldn't play this as like a story-driven game for sure. But, I mean, maybe they'll add some more later on. So you'll notice there's shadows everywhere. So you can see even at nighttime there's shadows in the trees and all that. And that comes into effect during the day. Because we're a vampire, obviously, so you can see there's the full day-night cycle there. It's ticking by very slowly. You can change that with the server settings and all that. But during the day, you take damage for being out in the sun very quickly. So you need to stick to the shadows, literally. So you have to think about where the shadows of things are. If you decide to completely clear cut a forest, you're not going to have any shadows, and you'll probably die when the sun comes out. So you need to think about some things like that. So here we are in our bandit camp. Want to kill the boss here. Gonna get a lot of different enemies. So we can counterattack there. And these guys can do that too, actually. Feed on him. Don't need that blood though. We're just gonna abort. Pick up some of the stuff that he dropped. Some archers. We can get a crossbow as well. Just don't have it yet. There's little treasure chests in the world, so you can find some stuff too. But for the most part, you're going to be crafting everything that you come across. So. But because of that, because of, being able to unlock things through killing bosses and finding treasure chests and all that, the game rewards exploration a little bit more so than maybe some other titles in the genre would. Obviously, you're still going to be doing some min-maxing if you want to unlock more things, and especially if you're going to be playing PvP. But you can play this, again, completely functionally as a PvE game and just enjoy, exploring around this world, checking out the things, getting new unlocks and all that, battling these various monsters. Yeah. Some skeletons, alright, so we want to avoid those. Clear out this camp a little bit. Because she is right over there. Keely the Frost Archer. So see how this boss fight goes.
Trespassers. No mercy.
All of the bosses that I found so far, and I fought almost 10 of them, are all fully voiced. Like I said, they're all very different fights as well. So this one, she is a trapper. So she has a bunch of enemies in her, or not enemies, animals in her camp. And you can actually break these cages, let these animals out, and they will fight her over you. Because they don't want to be here. For some really weird reason. So again, they're gonna fight with her now. She's gonna keep using these attacks. As she gets lower in health, she's going to use more attacks, have a different moveset and things. So very kind of MMO-esque in terms of the combat. Enemies can destroy the environment, as you just saw there. She knocked down a tree. You have a ton of different skills, so I don't have a whole lot right now, but after we fight her, we'll get a few more, and then we'll see what the skill tree and everything looks like, because there's a lot of them. So when she goes invisible, you can kind of see the shimmer there and track her down a little bit if you want to.
Freeze!
She's doing her little AoE attack. We want to avoid that. Of course, you can fight with any type of weapon you want, so if you're not crazy about the patterns of the sword here, go at her with the dual axes.
Freeze!
Uh-oh. Oop. Track her down a little bit. Watch out for that. That's no good. Again, you can see it's you have to actually kind of think about your attacks. You can't just stand there and face tank that. You might want to get out of the way of that. It definitely draws some inspiration from Battlerite in terms of both the art style and kind of the movement and combat and everything, which I think is a good thing. A lot of early access survival games, the fun of them isn't the game itself, it's the experiences that you have in them, usually with the community that's constantly jumping around from one early access survival title to the next. So, she's dead, and we want to extract her blood. Again, because we're vampires. Got some very basic loot from her, so we've got some new blood unlocked. And you can see here, these are all of our potential abilities, and they have different skill trees and everything. There's some enemies coming in, so I want to fight them real quick, and then I can talk about this and loot a little bit more. So this is very early in the game, so these are basic enemies, so just, circle strafe, kill them, grab some loot here too. All sorts of cool things. But you have different abilities and different skill trees here, including ultimate abilities. You can only bind a couple things at a time, so you have your movement ability, throwing things. I have a projectile there. I have a counter attack. But there's different types of abilities, and depending on what you're fighting, it's going to be better or worse for different things. So you can think about that with all the different stuff you unlock. So this one, we got the ability to launch out little frozen bats. Equip that instead. Drag it down there so that we have different abilities equipped now. Get different vampire powers as you go. Even some other emotes. So of course, if you want to be, interacting more with the people you're playing with, you can do that. But yeah, because this game has a little bit deeper combat and things to it, I think it might have a little bit more longevity than those games where it's just, here's a game that's not super intuitive, but the fun of it is just, you going through the motions of an early access crafting survival game with people. Oops. There's some higher level enemies. Just got a spear. Thankfully the spear is very slow. Well, daylight. Let's see if we can get back to our base without dying. After we finish her off, of course. Can't leave things half done. And when you die, you will drop things depending on the server settings, and those are all completely changeable and all that. I think my biggest complaint with the game, other than the performance, is that even on single-player mode, you are hosting a server, which is a little odd. So you cannot play this game without an internet connection, which I've said in the past that normally that's not a big deal. Like, most people are going to be connected to the internet all the time. Like, that shouldn't be a problem, but it's kind of an odd thing with this title. And again, it's definitely an odd thing with single-player games. I can understand if a game has a multiplayer mode, like, and it constantly has to check home or something. Like, yeah, that makes sense. But with something that, even advertises having solo play and single player, having to be always online just feels crummy. There's a little mini-boss thing, a stone golem. They will absolutely destroy me, so we're not going to fight that. See if you get out in the sun for even just a little bit. It starts ticking down. You can see the sunbeam coming to get you. So keep going. Stick to the shadows as much as possible. Good. Of course, we can use some of our blood to heal up. But the other thing is that you can see, as we're using blood to heal ourselves, it's running out down there in the bottom. So that's something you constantly have to be thinking about as you're playing the game. So you can't just find something that's, 100% blood quality and stick to that forever. So you have to be thinking about that as you're going. What different blood types are you going to use? Are you going to run out of blood and not be able to use powers? And if you completely run out, you will slowly tick down your health and die. So you can see here I have some items that will give me a little bit of blood, but they make my blood type just absolute garbage. So it's essentially worthless, but it's one of those things where you want to keep a few of those around, just in case, because you don't want to be caught out and then die. So we'll explore around a little bit more, see some different environments here. See how dangerous the daylight is. Ooh. There's some items you can craft that will give you a little bit of protection against the sun. So you might want to track down those bosses early on, for example. So here we have some skeletons. And obviously they don't have blood, because they're undead, just like we are. Here in their little cemetery. There's sometimes a boss here. He travels between two of the different cemeteries that are in the lower part of the map. But the map is pretty big. Once we get out of here where I'm not in immediate danger, I'll show it off again. Game doesn't pause. There's no way to pause the game at all when you go in an inventory or menu or anything, even when you're solo, which is, again, another kind of weird thing. Still chasing us, huh? Let's go over here. Okay, they gave up. Finally, yeah. So yeah, we started over here, went all the way up there, fought a thing there. There was a teleporter there. Right now I have the settings so that I cannot teleport if I have gatherable items in my inventory, which is kind of an interesting setting that you can turn on or off. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of different server options. So we'll go back to our base and look at the crafting a little bit more. I know I said this is going to be a quick look, but there's a lot to potentially look at and talk about in this game. So I'm hoping that they'll be committed to updates for this, and quickly. Again, at the time of recording this, the game hasn't even been out a week. And it's gotten some hot fixes, but there's no, like, you know, roadmap or anything like that. So who knows what the future of this game is. I know some people are hating on this dev because of Battlerite and the fact that was ended and all that. And specifically how it was ended. So Battlerite was a MOBA, and then in its twilight days, as it was declining players, they put out a Battle Royale Battlerite instead to try to stave off the bleeding, and it was a separate game, and that died quickly as well. And also a shame because I thought it was interesting and well done. It was very different than kind of other standard Battle Royales. But again, crowded genre, and these aren't big-name devs or anything like that, so bit of a shame. But yeah, people are still mad at them for that, unfortunately, and I mean justifiably. But I don't think that was really anything that they could have saved or done differently. It's just a crude reality of the world. There's just too many MOBAs, too many Battle Royales. You can see here different things that we can craft. These wolves really like to get in my base because I keep forgetting to close the door. Alright, let's take care of that. Let's close this now. But you can see here, this is, you know, using bones to blot out the sun so we don't die. Do you have our little coffin where we started the stream? Getting in it does not speed up time or anything like that, which is odd. I'm not sure the point of it, other than it's just, like, it's a bed, so you'll spawn here when you die. But other than that, it doesn't seem to serve any kind of purpose. So you can research different things as well. This includes structures, armor, weapons, magic, consumables, and you can find these different things, these unlocks, out in the world randomly. So in addition to the things you get by following the prompts and by killing bosses, you can also find these random technologies or research them by either crafting or finding paper. So you have a couple different potential upgrade paths there. And then again, thinking about the production, of course, once you want to start moving on in the world, obviously we could do things with wood right now, but eventually we'll want to upgrade to a furnace and start turning our copper into copper bars and make copper weapons and things. We can put a vermin nest down, and then we get a constant supply of rats, so that we have a constant supply of low-quality blood if we need it. Got the tannery from killing that archer, so now we can make animal hides and leather armor and things. Can grind some of our raw materials down into bricks and dust. So there's options here for sure, and again, this is just very early on. You have some customization in terms of what you want your base to look like. You can build a full-blown castle. Some options with that. Put some gargoyles out there if you want to do that. It's a very basic lighting. Again, early on, so we don't have a whole lot of options here. But I think this game is cool. It has potential. It's an interesting take on early access survival. I think it's a good combination of things, having the kind of more fast and fluid combat, more of the RPG mechanics to keep you involved. I'm hoping that they'll sort out the kind of performance issues and some of the oddities, again, in terms of single player and all that. And I'm just hoping that it'll get continued support as well. My big gripe with the early access survival games, other than the community being a little hostile at times, and I'll probably get yelled at for saying that in this video, but is that oftentimes these games just don't get supported. They'll launch and people will jump to it and they'll play it for a couple weeks, and then they'll go away, and then the devs will go away with them, move on to the next thing, or just stop entirely. So with this being a more established studio, they have some experience to draw from and things, and they have some demons of their own to conquer in terms of proving that they can do this. I'm hoping that that means this gets some more continuous support. So yeah, this was V Rising, and hopefully it is not just a phase, Mom. Hope you enjoyed this quick look at this game. Again, out now in early access. It's pretty fun. I think you should check it out if you're a fan of these games or you just think this looks interesting. And until next time, have a good one.